All right, we've got David from LA. David, this is Jack Galloway. How can I help you today?
Well, thanks, Jack. I run a small business that does screen printing and embroidery, and I'm looking for some advice on sort of advanced techniques for improving retention and company loyalty. We've got a lot of the basics in place. We've had a mission statement for years. We've got core values. We do one-on-ones every week with our team to make sure we've got good communication. So we have a lot of those sort of low-hanging fruit items taken care of, and we've got a good culture. But I want to figure out how to develop a deeper sense of loyalty and retention. Right now, 2 or 3 years tenure with us is considered pretty darn good, and I want to figure out how do we build a company where people stick around for 5 years, 10 years, given that most of our workforce right now is mostly in their 20s.
Okay, all right. Well, that is a tough age group, and while 2 to 3 years in the age group of 20s might be something a lot of our audience out there is struggling with, let's see if we can do a little bit better. What is the retention like in your industry? Are there people that stay in the embroidery and screen printing business for 10 to 15 years that are not owners in the business?
Traditionally, yes, especially on the production side. There are folks who have done the same job for 10, 15, even 20 years.
Okay, all right. Well, let's review a little bit some of the things that we do know about what it is that makes people want to stay with a company. People stay because they're working in their sweet spot, first of all. That means that their skills and talents and passions line up with what they're going to be doing every day. Not 100%, but that a good 20% of what they're doing each day are activities that they just love to do. Marcus Buckingham calls them red thread activities. They also stay when they're connected to the company. So if they're connected to what the company does, how it serves its customers, if they're connected to the leaders of the company, and then they also stay when they have good relationships. If they're friends with the people that they are working with and they're friends with the leaders, then it also makes them want to stay with that company. And we've learned that if those things are off, it's hard to compensate for them in doing more advanced things. Those are sort of some of the fundamental things. We've also talked about compensation. We've got to be paying above average or competitive marketplace rates when it comes to compensation. And I'm guessing in your industry, if they've got the skills to do screen printing and embroidery in your business, they probably can find another job doing that somewhere in your town. Is that correct?
That's probably true. We're a cottage industry, so there's not a lot of standardization in terms of how folks pay, but some rough research tells me that we're above average, maybe not a lot above average, but I think we are above average in terms of compensation. That connectedness point is I think interesting to me. How do we create a greater sense of connectedness with the company?
Tell me a little bit more about what you're wanting to do when it comes to connectedness. Connectedness to each other?
Well, I think our team feels really well bonded. There's good communication. They're mostly friends. They do a lot of outside work, socializing. I think they've got a good sense of interpersonal connection. But you mentioned a minute ago the idea of connectedness to what we're doing and to the company. And I'm just trying to figure out how to deepen that sense of, maybe said another way, I think that some of our employees feel, because this is maybe their first or second job, they feel like this work environment is actually the norm and they could find it anywhere else in terms of the community we've built, and helping them understand that they're in actually a unique place, that this is a special company, this is a unique place to work, and to not take that for granted.
One of the things that's come to my mind is when we talk about this age group and this industry is career growth. We know that this age group, they're not quite sure what they want to do for the rest of their life. We know that because you said that's their first or second job. Their age tells us they haven't had a lot of different experiences up until now, and they're trying some different things. So I want to first say that some of the turnover that you're experiencing may actually be what we would call good turnover, and that is that they are not a lifetime fit for the business that you're in. And as painful as that is, If they're leaving the embroidery and screen printing business to go be a mechanic or go to law school, it may be because they have found what their calling is, and that may actually be okay. But career growth for that group, if it is their calling, if it is the industry they want to advance in, that team member's really got to see, where am I now? Let's say I'm a junior person, I'm in the apprentice level. What does it take to go from junior to mid to senior? What does that look like? Where am I now? What are the steps to get there? What would my life look like then? What might pay look like then? We call them growth tracks, but it's really just a simple, progressive, clear, guided path on their career. And what I have found is any age group, if they feel stuck at all, they're prone to bail or prone to at least feel that way. And so it's very important that for that right group of people that you begin to talk to them about more responsibility and what career growth might look like over the next 2, 3, 5 years.
Okay. We struggle with that on one perspective, which is that we're a relatively small company. We've got 14 people here right now. We don't anticipate significant growth. We're not intending to grow a lot. We'll grow some. And so realistically, there aren't a lot of positions higher up on the ladder. And trying to figure out, how do we help people grow within a small company that itself isn't going to get much bigger? How do we continue to give people new challenges and a sense of growth when, you mentioned junior versus senior? If you're a senior printer, there isn't anywhere to go from there other than maybe being the production manager, but we already have one. What do you think about how can we foster growth in an organization that itself isn't growing much?
I think with my leaders, I would want to sit down and challenge myself as the owner and the leaders on the future of the business. When you tell me as the owner it's not going to grow much and we already have one, if I'm a 20-something looking to grow, I'm probably going to be out of alignment with where you're headed. We're just going in two different directions. I would spend some time strategically talking about the future of our business and talking about what would growth look like for our business. How can we grow profits to pay more than market, to need more people, to have advancement and those types of things? If that simply is not the road you're headed down, at some point I think you're probably looking for people who line up more clearly on the front end with, they want to work for a small business that stays small and they're happy where they are in the position that you hire them for an indefinite period of time. I think that's going to be the tougher road. I would love to see you guys get together and come up with some new ways to generate new ideas, new revenue, new customers that needs new fantastic people to come on. It seems like it would be a real shot of energy into what you guys are doing. But it sounds like you guys have a fantastic business and that your customers love what you do. And I hope to hear back from you and hear bright and wonderful things about your business. Appreciate hearing from you today, David in LA.
Thank you.